What's good? This is Marcus the Fingers back at it again with another video. In this video, I want to show you an update on some of the apps I have going on. Sorry, I got always got these cables dangling and whatnot, but you know it is what it is, raw and uncut. So here it is. Here I am on the iPad. And I'm going to go through two things actually. The apps that I currently use or currently have. I don't use a lot of them. Some of them I might actually delete in this whole process. And how I arrange the apps on my iPad. So let's get it. Here we are on my main music screen. So I have my home screen here with like my productivity apps and things. And then here I am on my main music app page, and then towards the bottom there are apps that I haven't sorted yet, and then it goes into the second page. So we're going to go through all of these. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I'm going to talk fast like I normally do and try to get through them all. But here we go. And actually, I did a version of this back in December of last year on Pete John's page, where I go into more detail of the apps I was using then. So I will link that video in one of these corners somewhere here. Shout out to Pete Johns again for that opportunity. So this is more of an updated version of that, showing new apps I'm using or new apps that I have. And apps that I might have gotten rid of since then. We're going to start at the top here. The folders themselves are not listed in any order, but I do arrange the apps in a certain order. So I have, as you can see, the compressor, limiter, gate, master, channel strip. So we're going to go through each of these apps, each of these folders. So the first folder here at the top left on this page is my compressors, limiters, and gates. So these are the compressors that I have, limiters, gates, or something that is very similar to a compressor, limiter, or gate. So I have Magic Death Eye, which is an incredible compressor. I think I need to do another video on that. Shout out to Ali Ahmet. It was a competition that he hosted on Facebook, and I had won that in one of those competitions. Again, I don't want to get into it. Magic Death Eye is an incredible compressor, very fully featured, a lot of functions in there. I'm not going to open all the apps I have either, so sorry about that. New York compressor, no limits. So those first three apps are by DDMF, same company. You see that down there at the bottom right. You can tell they have like that app aesthetic. Core Pressor there by Clevgrand, who also make, I believe, Press It down there and Espresso just below that. So I'm obviously not going in any type of order. Pump House there, which looks like an audio damage app. Compressor FX, and MB compressor there, which looks like 4 pockets. And then you have Perforator down there, Involver, Transient. Both of those are FAC apps. Fred Anton Corvez, who's an incredible app developer, and I believe those apps are also available on computer desktop devices. Tone Boosters, Barricade, Rough Rider, I also believe Audio Damage, Rough Rider 3, and Nembrini Audio's AR Noise Gate. So again, if you have questions about specific apps, feel free to reach out to me. But I'm just showing you what I have, how they're arranged. Next to that, I have master or channel strip apps. And how I labeled these folders were based on, I could type all the words out, but I want to be able to see just at a glance what's in those folders from this page here. So master channel strip, I have started with Grand Finale up there. Haven't used it as much, definitely haven't used it this year at all. But I was using it for a while I would make something and then bring it into Grand Finale for some mastering. Same with Final Touch. These are great apps. I just haven't used it in a while. Final Touch, you can make something in another app and then bring it into Final Touch for some final mastering. Very full featured in there. Audio Master, I think has more presets where you can bring in music and then go through the presets and have like some mastering functions in there. MS Processor, mid-side processing, or some people might say mono stereo processing, where you can do different processing in the middle signal from the stereo signal. Again, FAC Maxima, that could be thought of more as a compressor type limiter, but in my mind I think of it more of a master channel strip. Bark Filter, I use that on everything right now that I'm doing in Beatmaker 3. There's a preset I'm using in there on everything. I haven't even looked at any other functions other than going to Bark Filter by Versin, going to this one preset and using that preset. So shout out to Versin and Bart Filter. Lux, I believe, is also Clevgrand, which has some sort of compressing, limiting things. Sorry, trying to get this thing off the keyboard there. Very just lightweight compressor. Sounds great. Tone boosters Morphit. So that's really not a master or channel strip plugin. What it is it emulates some of the most popular headphones frequency curve, and it balances the audio you're listening to compensate for that frequency curve of the listening devices. Probably not the best way to explain it, but I can go in on that. If you guys are interested, let me know. And then channel strip is basically what it is. It's a channel strip. I can go in on that also, but that's definitely a channel strip, so it goes in the channel strip folder. Next to that, I have Reverbs. What I have done recently is for some of these types of plugins and apps, I would have multiple pages. So I tried to narrow it down to just one page, and then if a new app comes out that needs to go in that folder, I have to either delete the new app or delete one of these older apps, because in all honesty, I don't need 16 reverbs. I probably only need 4, maybe 3, but a lot of them is hard to part with. So right now in my reverb folder, I have Adverb 2, Zero Reverb, Cleverb, FS Freeze Verb, the Rat Shack Reverb, the Reverb Effects, RF1, Envelope, EOS 2, Shimmer Effects, Blias Reverb. I never know how to say that. Tone Boosters Reverb, the Cuss and P or Cuss and P. I don't know how to say that either. Visual Reverb, Alteza by FAC Transient, and Jack's Convolution Reverb, where you can actually import your own IRs and have sort of convolution reverbs in there. I was using that for a while. I haven't used that as much. There are probably about half of these reverbs I haven't touched in a long time that could and should probably disappear. I won't do that because I do love all of these developers. Chorus, flangers, phasers. This folder has choruses, flangers, and phasing, or something along those lines. So you see Zero Chorus up there. Just 1 second on Zero Chorus, and you see some of the other apps. Blamsoft, to me, was one of the first iOS developers where I got a lot of their plugins. I think they were free, and they are free, I think, currently. But they were one of the first developers when I started getting into iOS production where I got their stuff and use it on everything. I unfortunately don't use it as much now, but they have a lot of quality stuff for free. If it's not free, it's definitely not expensive. Zero Chorus, FAC Chorus there. FAC, again, top quality stuff there. Phase 3. Svep, another Clevgrand, I believe, app. They make quality stuff. Quattro Mod by Audio Damage, again, quality stuff. App Developer, I don't think we've seen in the last couple of folders yet. Micro Pitch and Rotary are both, Micro Pitch and Rotary, both Eventide plugins. Eventide, I think, just released a new plugin. Their stuff is quality, top quality stuff. And then you see, let's skip those for a second. Go to the bottom there. Phaser is an incredible plugin by FAC Transient, or by FAC, sorry, by Fred Anton Corvest. I've been using that a lot lately, especially on synths, where I'm trying to get some motion and things going. It's an incredible phasing app. And then the 4 that I skipped there, AR Chorus, AR Phaser, AR Flanger, AR Tremolo are all from Nembrini Audio. Nembrini, I believe, is new to the iOS space, but these, and I also believe all of these apps, the Nembrini apps, are free, or were free at one point. Top quality stuff, great stuff that they're doing over there. A lot of it seems really focused on guitar effects, but you can use them for anything really. So that's the Chorus, Flanger, Phaser. Going next to, speaking of guitar, amps, Distortion. So Squash It by Clevgrand, Stark by Clevgrand. I use Stark a lot, not just on guitar stuff, but on keys, synths and things, samples. If I'm trying to get, it's basically a strip of plugins that you can have. So it has delay, reverb, EQ, and then you can add all kinds of other effects in there, all in one plugin. DC9 Overdrive, again, Blamsoft there. Reamp, another Clevgrand app. Fuzz Plus 3 there. And then the last 2, Crunk V2 and PSA 1000 Junior, are 2 Nembrini apps. PSA 1000 to me is basically an iOS version of I can't think of the name right now. I think it was called SansAmp on Mac. One of the first plugins I was using on everything when I was using Pro Tools a couple of years ago. I used Pro Tools for over 10 years, maybe almost 13 or 14 years. So PSA 1000 Junior is basically the iOS version of that SansAmp app that was in Pro Tools that I was using forever. So I love that app. Moving right along, delay and echo. Panning delay by 4 Pockets, Van Delay, Clevgran, reverser delay there, Dubstation by Audio Damage, RP1, Replicant 2, Bleas delay, someone please tell me how to say that, Stereo Lag, K7D, Delirium, one of my favorite app names. If you know me, you know I'm big on naming things. If you're an app developer and you need help naming an app, please reach out to me. Have a contest. I'll be all in on it. Cosmonaut, FS Refractor, Modly. That is an app I probably use on most of my Sense and Things. Clevgran app that has different things that you can do, like pre effects and post effects. So you can have things that are before the delay, you have things after the delay, and then in the middle of the delay. Again, I can do another video on that. There's plenty of video on a lot of these apps also online from some of our favorite app developers, favorite iOS users, and YouTube personalities. So Eventide, UltraTap delay there, Discord 4, and then AR delay by Nembrini Audio. So you start to see a lot of these developers making different apps in different categories. You start seeing some of the same names over and over. So those are more the ones I tend to gravitate to, obviously, as you see here. Moving right along, EQs and filters. You see 6144, directional EQ. Both of those are from DDMF. F16 filter by Blamsoft, parametric EQ there. Go-to EQ by Clevgran, LRC5. If you need a free EQ, LRC5, definitely get that. F16 filter also is free in this page here. I'm trying to see, I don't know if any of the others are free. SF1 is great. Visual EQ by 4 Pockets there. Velocity filter is great. I haven't used it as much, but what it is if you can insert it as an audio MIDI effect or as a MIDI effect on, say, a synth, the harder you play the synth, the filter is based on the velocity of how hard you play the keys, if that makes sense. I can do a video on that if you're interested. Tone Booster Equalizer, EQ by Tone Boosters. Tone Boosters, to me, is a comparable equivalent to FabFilter stuff. I don't have any FabFilter plugins yet, but Tone Booster is a much more inexpensive alternative with still quality premium features. JAF collection. I haven't used the JAF plugins as much lately. I was using them for a while when I first got them. Bleas filter. Nembrini Audio. You see AR guitar EQ there and AR cleaner there on the end. In between those two, you see filter step, which I believe is a step filter sequencer thing. I haven't used it yet. There are videos on that. And then Tone Boosters dual VCF. I actually haven't used that yet either. Moving right along, sharing and editing. So this is sort of going out of the effects type thing, but this is more of sharing and audio editing. You see Easy Audio Cut. Haven't used that. I don't know if I've ever used it, so that might be going. Audio Share. Haven't used it lately, but I did just find out some things that I can do with Audio Share that I didn't know I could do. So I may be using that more. Bruce Free I do use occasionally. That's audio cleaning, basically getting noise out of recordings like voice recordings. Audio Copy haven't used lately either. Same with Audio Bus 3, haven't used lately. Amuse is basically a free version of DistroKid. Maybe not as featured as DistroKid, but you can release music through Amuse for free. Pete Johns has some incredible comparison videos between Amuse and DistroKid and maybe some of the other distribution apps. I do use DistroKid myself. They don't have an app yet, not that I know of, an iOS app, but hopefully that's in the works. Lexus Audio Editor, I might have used once, haven't used since. Bounce, I actually have no idea what that is. And Audio Stretch, I use Audio Stretch for one thing mainly, and it is when church was open, I'm a musician at my church, we would have songs that we would learn, and let's say the choir or the director wanted to do the song in a different key, I would bring the song into audio stretch and then lower the key like a half step or what the key was, and then send that out to the musicians to work on so that they can work on that song in that key. And then Attack Softener, again, a new app, I believe a transient designer app sort of. Next to that, we're moving right along. This is going to be a long video. As you can tell, it's only been 15 minutes, and I'm not even halfway through these. Vox, vocal effects and synths. So this is all vocal effects, vocal synths, all voice related. Harmony 8, haven't used as much. I believe that is Versen. And apologies to the companies if I get it wrong, but I believe that's Versen. Dervoco, I don't think I've used. I believe it's a vocoder app, though. Juicy, I use a lot. There was a time, maybe like a month, where I used everything I created was with that, like had a juicy sound, by Clevgrand, I believe. Voice synth, I haven't used yet. I think I was trying to look for some vocoder effects, and I came across voice synth and Dervoco for something, and Veloco, I believe, for something I was trying to do in church. Didn't really get to use those yet, though. Sopranotron, I believe, is a soprano singer app where you can have like a vocal thing and record. Vocal Soloist, I'm actually not sure what that is, by 4 Pockets, but it's 4 Pockets. I have a lot of their apps, so it's there. And then Veloco. I'm going to try to move a little quicker. Multiband effects. So these are effects that do things, either they do more than one thing, so it's multi-effects, or it can be one effect, but they can affect multiple bands, so multi-band, or it can be a combination of both. So audio effects is there. You see FAC Transient, Bandit there, which I use on 808s a lot. Esion, I don't know how to say that. Haven't used a lot lately. Tornado, I also haven't used a lot lately. I probably should, because I was using Tornado a lot, and then I got Effectrix, and I use Effectrix a lot, really a lot. IFX Rack by, I don't want to get the company wrong. I know it's Gospel Musicians, but I'm not sure if it's Gospel Musician or Ridiculous. But IFX Rack, where you can basically build your own effects, and also I believe save them as presets. Shaper, I don't know if I've used. Tone Boosters Enhancer, I do use that. Effectrix, obviously I use that a lot on like synths, samples, and things. Pitch shift effects, I do use that to like pitch shift samples up and down, mainly in octave. And Looperator, I don't think I've used that yet either. Synths, this is a big one. So remember when I said I try to keep it to one page? I cannot do that with synths. I just have to take a day to go through all these. So just running through these: Arturia iSim, Sunriser, Cauldron, Primer, Xeon Model 15, iMonopoly. I will stop at iMonopoly because when they came out, they had a skin for iMonopoly where you could have the Monopoly skin from the Monopoly game as the skin for that app. And I don't know if something happened along the lines with Monopoly, or was it Hasbro, whatever, the gaming company, where they couldn't use that skin. But it was great. I love that skin. But now it's back to the regular iMonopoly Korg synth. TerraSynth, Centronic by IK Multimedia. Poison 202, I will stop at Poison 202. I use that a lot, mainly because it's a lightweight app. When I use it in Beatmaker 3, it tends to not crash Beatmaker 3s, and I can have multiple instances, where some of the other apps do tend to sort of crash Beatmaker 3. Model D, again, I believe either Model D or Model 15 was free for a while. During these pandemic times. I don't know if it's still free, but definitely be on the lookout for those two. Model 15 and Model D are great apps. Synthmaster Player, I also have Synthmaster 1. I believe there is a difference. If there's not a difference, please tell me so that I can delete one of them. But I use both of those often. Digital D1 by good friends at AudioKit, incredible app. I can go all day on AudioKit and Digital D1 and stuff they're doing for the community. Volt, I believe it's a monosynth app. Mitosynth, I don't use Mitosynth as much lately, mainly because I'm focusing my usage on AUV3 apps, and Mitosynth, I believe, is IAA app right now. And if you have no idea what that means, definitely shoot me a message. I can send you some links to some videos of people that'll help explain the differences between IAA, AUV3, and some of these apps and things. PeerSynth by Gospel Musicians, one of my favorite synth apps. A lot of sounds in there. It's a Rompler. that has tons of sounds, string sounds, horn sounds, keyboards, vocal sounds, including choirs and solo instruments. It's just incredible. FM Player 2, I believe by AudioKit also. I really, is it FM Player 2 or Synth 1? It might be Synth 1. Whichever one it is, AudioKit, I really need it to be AUV3 as soon as possible. Thank you. Animoog, again, I don't use this much. It's a IAA app. Castbar by, I want to say Yonak. Synth app, Scythe or Scythe Synth. I don't know how to say that. I actually don't think I've used it in a while. Poseidon I use occasionally. Magellan I do use a lot lately. Microterra I use occasionally. Continua, I actually won Continua as a gift from the good people over at We Sample Everything. Shout out to the team We Sample Everything. They do competitions, beat maker or iPad production competitions where you can win some of these incredible apps if you win. Unique and Factory and Apparillo are all incredible apps. I use Apparillo and Factory more than I use Unique because Apparillo and Factory to me have a lot of cinematic sound design type vibes to them, epic sounds. Definitely get your hands on those if you can. Again, there's Synthmaster 1, as I mentioned, I have Synthmaster Player on the other page. Viking Synth by Blamsoft. Synthscaper LE, incredible app with some some other cinematic sounds. Seaboard 5D from Rolly. I haven't used as much, and I don't have a Seaboard, but there are some sounds in there that are incredible. Same with the Rolly app, which I believe I have on another page. So these apps are not in any type of order at all. OBXD, I don't think I've used. I think I opened it one time. And I'm a fan of presets, and I don't think OBXD had presets at the time. They might now, but you had to basically design your sounds. And I'm looking at the bottom here because I see Magellan 2, so I'm trying to figure out. I don't need Magellan anymore because I have Magellan 2, so I'm going to have to go through these again. KQ Dixie, I believe they were allowing you to import sounds from like old keyboards and things, so I imported a lot of sounds into KQ Dixie, used those sounds for like a month, and then never opened it again. Spectrum, again, use occasionally. Synsphere, it's a weird word. Synthsphere, by Clef Grand, I believe. Incredible app where you can just move your finger on the screen, and it's pre-built with different sounds, and you can like land on a sound, and it sort of glues different sounds together. I cannot explain it any worse than that, I don't think. But it's a great app. String app, I believe, is just some string and synth sounds in there. Mellow Sound I do use occasionally. It's basically like a Mellotron app that has some sounds in there. Same with Streetly Tron 63. DRC I don't think I've used lately. Noise I have used just because of some of the sounds in there. That is a Rolly app, sort of the brother of Seaboard 5D. Phosphor 2 I've used that a handful of times, not as much lately. Bleas Alpha I do use that for some solo sounds. They do have some in-app purchases that I just got to like make the app even like more featured. It has a bunch of sounds in there now. Tal You Know LX was just released, I believe, last month, and there are some free sounds you can get and import in there. There's some videos online showing you how you can import sounds into there. Presets that people have made. Bearvog, again, I don't know how to say. I believe another Clef Grand app, synth app. Magellan 2, as I mentioned. Shockwave is a mono synth app. Red Shrike is another incredible app. I don't use it as much, so again, I can definitely pare these down probably to at least 2 pages. And then finishing it out, Hillman, I do use that for a lot of, I think that's a Clef Grand app also. I use that on a lot of tracks. String Ensemble I use occasionally for like a synthy string sound. KQ Unitone I believe I used once and haven't used it again. It's a great app, I just haven't had a use for it. I think some of the sounds that I found in there that I believe I can have those sounds in any of these other apps that I have. Or in at least some of these other apps. And then Lagrange there on the end. So that is my Synths app. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to get through all this. Let me take a quick water break. right, let's go. Organs. I have 3 of those. Organ sound apps. Of course, I have a body full of organs. But Judor Committee. I have no idea how to say that. I believe it's a pipe organ emulation. I think I might have used a handful of times. Galileo 2 I use a lot when I need sort of the Hammond organ sound on the iPad. There is a Hammond organ app by IK Multimedia that is I believe $100 or $99.99, which is really a premium price for an app on iOS. And honestly, I can get the sounds I really need out of Galileo 2, the Hammond sounds I need. And then iOptagon, which I believe is an optical organ emulation on the iPad. So 3 of those. Orchestral, 4 of those. And really, I could bring another one in here, but I think I have that in another folder. But iSymphonic is a great orchestral app with quality orchestral sounds. The problem, not necessarily problem, but warning, is they are in-app purchases. So you can buy the app and get a set of sounds, and then you can buy extra kits for premium. And I think if you go all in, all of the apps could top, and I don't know the prices because I haven't bought them all, but I think each sort of in-app purchase is maybe $10 to $20, and there's a lot of them, so you can top, I think, $50, $100 of in-app purchases on there. Same with Heavy Brass. I don't know if there's in-app purchases for that. I think so. But Brass Synth, Oriental Strings, and Jubal Flute. So all those there. I think Jubal Flute may be, I can't remember the company. I want to say Embertone, but I might be wrong. But these are sort of orchestral cinematic orchestra apps. I would love if we can talk Spitfire Audio into releasing some type of BBC SO symphonic orchestra Discover version for iOS. That would be Dream app on iOS. That would be it. Dream orchestral app. Moving to Granular Bitcrusher stuff. Quanta, Tardigrade, Spacecraft, Degrader, Resampler, RX950, which says it's a converter, but it's basically a Granular Bitcrusher. Jax Decimator, Bitmaestro, and FRMS, Forms, I don't know how to say that. But all these basically, you can bit crush and like smash audio and do all types of crazy weird effects. There are more out there. These are the ones I have. Drums, percussion, and Bels, which is technically percussion. So is piano, but I don't have piano in here. Accent 2, EGD, basically EG Dr. 808, an 808 emulator. Object, which is basically you can have, I want to say you can have the iPad on any device and just play the device like a desk or a keyboard here like a drum, and it'll turn that thing into basically a drum set. Mersane and Kronecker, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but those 2 are great bell sounds. If I ever need a bell sound, I usually go to those 2 apps to find the bell sound. iShala, I think I had won that years ago from Edward from his Facebook or iOS community group, and it's basically one of those Oriental sounding apps. Playset, I haven't used as much. I believe it's another either 808 type app. And then Ting, I do use Ting often by Clevergrand. It is a percussion app with some just like quirky percussion sounds, like a hand tambourine, like a stomp, and you can just use those percussive elements. I think there's maybe 16 percussive elements in there, and you can change the pitch of each one, the reverb on each one. Really great to add some just percussive sounds. Tape and vinyl effects. RE1 DAW cassette. I'll come back to fly tape. DAW LP, tone boosters, real bus, and tape cassette. I believe now is a good time to bring in tape cassette 2, which I just downloaded, and I believe will replace tape cassette at some point. So there we go. Low Fly Dirt and Fly Tape are 2 apps by MSX Audio, and Low Fly Dirt specifically I use on basically every track I create on Beatmaker 3. Not every track in a session, but Low Fly Dirt is usually on the master track and on the definitely on the drums, sometimes the bass, and I have some videos showing how I use that. DAWs, recording, and performing. So these are apps that are basically a digital audio workstation. So Cubasis, I believe that is 2 right there, and I have Cubasis 3 here at the bottom in my dock down here. AUM I use for live, so when I am in church, I have, I think I can take it out, I have this, maybe I'll do another video on this if I can't get it out. I have the, what is it called, the Yamaha BT 01, this thing here. So basically it's a Bluetooth MIDI, MIDI over Bluetooth. So I plug this into the keyboard, and then wirelessly it can connect to any device via Bluetooth. So I use that to control like synth and things on the, if I'm using Logic on the laptop, I use it to control that. If I'm doing stuff on the iPad, I use it to control that. And so in church, AUM, I take this, usually whenever I go somewhere and I know I'm playing somewhere, I take this, plug it into the keyboard that's there, and then use that keyboard or piano for virtual stuff. Beathawk 3 or Beathawk is an incredible app. I don't use it as standalone. I usually use it in Beatmaker 3. It has some high quality, really all kinds of sounds, gypsy, like guitar sounds, or orchestral sounds, horns, riffs and things, all kinds of sounds. If you're looking for a specific sound, I would say start in Beathawk 3. That's what I've been doing lately. Or Beathawk, I keep saying Beathawk 3. Start in Beathawk. That's what I've been doing lately. If you're looking for a specific sound, start there. See if they have that sound available. It's usually maybe $5, $6 if it's an in-app purchase. Mic Swap Pro, I don't use that as much because I'm not doing a lot of vocal recording or anything, but basically I think there's an in-app purchase there where you can have different mic emulations. So you can record something into, say, your iPad or into your phone or whatever, and then have Mic Swap Pro be like replace the mic. So even if you use this, replace the mic you're using. Aria Pro is, I think the best way is sort of similar to being the Pro Tools version on iPad. Has some really quality plugins and mixing and arranging. I don't use it as much. I'm not doing as much mixing on the iPad. But when I do have to, that's a great app for that. GarageBand, again, I'm not using it as much on the iPad. I was using it a lot on the laptop before I upgraded to Logic Pro. I'm on the trial right now. But still, if you just need something, it's free, I believe. Apple, so it's definitely integrates well with iOS. Sample Tape by IK Multimedia. Again, I don't use that as much, but also you can get some high quality orchestral sounds in there. I believe it has all kinds of sounds, guitars, pianos, and things. But Sample Tape's orchestra, I actually do like some of those sounds. Prime, I was also using, I used it a lot last year. It's basically a way where you can create backing tracks and you can, on the fly, navigate to different sections that'll play during those backing tracks during a live set. And then you can arrange songs to play in a specific order and queue them up through Prime. And then what you can do is you can mute specific tracks. So let's say you create a backing track that has a full musical instrumental arrangement and you're going to have a singer. Let's say the night of, the singer says, oh, my drummer and bass player is going to be here tonight. So you can go into Prime and you can mute all the drum and bass tracks on those backing tracks and then still play along with the keys and other things you have in there. Very powerful app. Velocity KB I might have used once. And I actually believe it. I believe it's similar to Velocity Filter, where I think it's a MIDI sequencer where you can use it to control sounds in other apps. iMachine 2 haven't used in a while, but I have a lot of songs in there. I probably need to go through and listen. That was probably one of the first apps I was using to create music, mainly on the iPhone. And then Scram, I've used occasionally, haven't used lately. Logic Remote is an app to control Logic on the or GarageBand on a Mac. SampleBot is a sampler. I believe I came across it. Was it Jimmy Fallon? One of those late night show guys was using it years ago, and they made like a song out of it. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So I used that. It's basically a sampler. I don't use it as much. Lately, I think I'm more in favor now of like Koala, which does something similar. iMPC Pro 2, definitely don't use that as much. I was never big, not big, I never used MPCs, never had one, but there was a studio I interned at where he had an MPC, and my first day there, he was like, just get on there, and I got on there and made a beat. It's kind of cool, but most of my drums I play like keys, and I do the drums on the keys, or I do the drums on the iPad. iMPC Pro, probably need to get into it because I've heard some incredible productions from people that use that. Groovemaker, so I believe one of the first apps, music production apps I was using was Groovemaker, and they had a bunch of additions out. This was probably 8 or 9 years ago, and I still have it here. I actually don't know why I haven't opened it in years. I might have some songs in there I need to get off. But one of the first iOS production apps I was using. Auditor, I believe is an audio editor. Haven't used it. Metro Timer, I believe is a metronome. Also don't really use much. I do occasionally, just below that, Hey Metronome, I use that. I believe another Audio Kit app. That has like built-in drums and things, so you can set the tempo and then have like a backing drum play different styles and things. So going back up to the top, Tap the Beat. I use that. It's a very lightweight app where I just open it. Let's say I'm trying to get the tempo of a song, so I tap the beat and it'll tell you the tempo. Pulse, I actually was using Pulse in church, and how I was using that, it's another tempo app, but the reason I was using that is because there is an Apple Watch app where I would know the songs we're doing. I have a list of songs for service, and then I would write down, have a list of the keys and the tempo. And so let's say we're playing a song and we're coming to the end of that song, I would use my Apple Watch to go to the tempo of the next song so that I have it queued up, and then I can, get ready to play in that tempo and key. MIDI wrist I need to get more into, but it's basically another Apple Watch app where you can have MIDI things programmed into your watch, and then you can have changes and things. I need to get more into that. I already talked about Hey Metronome. IK Oscillator is basically a Korg. I think they had a hardware device that they brought into the iPad. Haven't used it much. TW Recorder I use often, mainly for converting WAV files to MP3. I'm sure there's another way to do that, probably much easier ways. I do have videos showing how I do it with this app, showing another way I was doing it before, and I think in some of those videos people were telling me, oh, you can do it this other way, so there's plenty of ways to get that done. TW Recorder for me right now is the way I'm doing it. Let's Unmix, I have a video coming, or maybe I've already released it, I don't know how I'm going to release these videos, showing how I use that basically as a vocal extraction, but it separates vocal tracks from the bass tracks, from the drum tracks, and then other elements. So it's almost not as quality as it, but it's similar to Isotope's music rebalance feature on the iPad. Definitely not the quality of Isotope, but at a much cheaper price, it still can get the job done. Almost finishing with the folders here. We'll go to guitar and bass. iFretless guitar, Guitarscaper, Bassalicious, iFretless bass. I was using iFretless bass as my main acoustic bass until I got Bassalicious 2. Now I mainly use Bassalicious 2. Nor, which is more of a bass EQ, and Cyclop, which is more bass effects, sort of weird sound, cinematic sound, synthy type, and then Bass 808, which is Audio Kit 808 app that I've desperately needed on iOS. Actually, I'll probably release this video over the next few days. Today is June 10th, Wednesday. By June 12th, 2020 is the last day you can buy the Bass 808 app from Audio Kit Pro for whatever price it is, maybe $3.99, $4.99. After that, I believe the price will go up to the highest price it can be in the App Store. Get it while you can. It's an incredible app, one that has replaced my 808s that I use. I was just bringing 808s into a pad and then doing a bunch of processing in BeatMaker 3. Now with Bass 808, you can design your own 808s. And I'll probably have a video on that, either already released or I will release. So two of my main bass apps are Bassalicious 2 and Bass 808. Moving right along to pianos and pads and electric pianos. Neo Soul Keys by Gospel Musicians or Ridiculous, one of those two. Tynes, I believe by Clevgran. Ravenscroft 275 by UVI. Cage Piano, I've never used, but I think it's based on John Cage, or prepared piano effects and things. Pianoscaper and Moodscaper. There's also Guitarscaper, which I don't know if I got into yet. But they're just great for creating like ambient soundscapes. If you just need to like sit down and push buttons and create stuff, that's incredible. FM Tynes again by Gospel Musicians, I believe. Tynes app, Keys app. AutoPad, I think it's just a series of different pads. I haven't really used that much. And then Pads, which is I believe another Clevgran-ish app. And if I keep saying everything is Clevgran, and I hope I'm not wrong. And then Retro Piano Audio Kit again, just released this week. I had the honor of creating presets for Retro Piano and for Bass 808. I released a video going over some of those presets for Retro Piano also, that I may even link if I get a chance in one of these corners. Music generators. These are apps that create music that I believe are royalty free. So you can either sample them, record them, chop them up, throw them into another DAW. I haven't used them much though. Fortimento, Stravinsky, Riffer. I was using Riffer for a while. Mainly what I would do is open up Jubal Flute and then open up Riffer. And try to see if Riffer can come up with some crazy and weird flute ideas. It's really great to use Riffer and mainly any of these apps if they can be MIDI effects on like flute sounds, string sounds, things like that. Soundbow, definitely, I don't think I've used that in any productions. I might have opened it once or twice. Same with Gestrument Pro. I think it's a really powerful like orchestral app. I just haven't used it. Patatap is actually a website you can go to online, and you can create music and it has different colors and shapes, and it's really interactive. October, I actually have no idea what it is. I won that app also. And I couldn't tell you what it is. Ephemeral, another generator app of like ambient sound. I believe in that app you can use the sounds it creates in your productions, but definitely read, if you use any of these apps to like create sounds and then you want to sample them or use them in your productions, definitely read the sort of fine print, see what the usage case is, the copyright, how you can use that in your work. Stereo widening effects. Haze 2. There was Haze, and I think Haze 2 came out late last year, where you can actually widen certain frequencies in the frequency spectrum. So I actually used that. There was a video that Henny the Business put out a year or two ago showing his 808 processing, and he used Haze at the time to sort of widen the 808 and put it a little wide in the stereo field, which you might think is a little backwards because sometimes you want to keep the bass and the kick and everything straight up the middle and center, but when you widen the 808, it just added some type of character to the 808. Wider Touch, haven't used, but I believe it does something similar. Virtual Forest I1 also haven't used, but I think it does more stereo things. Stereo Width I use on all of my master channel strip in Beatmaker 3. I have a video showing how I use that on master channel strip. Simple Stereo I believe also does some widening, and Panstation 2. So in this folder the main ones I use are Stereo Width and Haze 2. That is all the folders, so we're almost done. I'm gonna go I'm gonna finish this page. So Splice, again, for audio production, there's a lot of companies out there. Sounds, Noise, there's sample providers. I'll do another video on sort of my top 5 sample providers, but Splice I believe will be in that top 5, where you pay a monthly and you can get a certain, I think 100 free sounds, or depending on how much you pay you get more. I don't think I've paid for Splice yet, because a lot of times I find codes where you get a free month of Splice sounds, like cool, or you get 100 free sounds. Put the code in, get a month free of sounds. Download all the sounds before that month is out, and then save them into your drive or whatever. Looper I haven't used yet. I believe you can have up to 7 tracks looping. Chops does say beta, but I believe it's released. Chops team, sorry if it's not released yet. But it's basically a way where you can make music, make a beat or something with your mouth, have it in the chops, and then export it, I believe as MIDI and maybe audio into like another DAW. Audio layer, the only reason I downloaded this is because I'm still trying to find a quality way to get my EXS files off of really the laptop, but it's in Dropbox, into the iPad. So EXS files are, I have some high quality ones, mainly from another free resource, pianobook.co.uk, which has over 300 instruments. Most of them are contact instruments, but there are some that are EXS files, and some of them are really quality that I want to use on the iPad. So there is a way to get them into audio layer. It's a very convoluted way. I brought some into it, but then you have to import each sample. Not a fun process, but it's a process nonetheless. It is a way to get EXS files into iPad. Twitch, downloaded recently, obviously as part of this pandemic. I have a lot of favorite producers that are on Twitch right now, a lot of contests. So I did a contest video that I'll post somewhere around here. I posted that a couple days ago, got some incredible feedback. What I did not mention in that video is that there are a lot of producers on Twitch doing contests also. So definitely look into that. Limelight is an app that I really don't think I can talk about right now, so we're going to skip that. AudioTune is an app by AudioKit Pro that was released, I believe this week or last week, basically where you can auto-tune, affect your voice in a project you're working on. So before I'll do the last page. Tube AU, again, the people at We Sample Everything gifted me this app, and it's basically a way where I can be in a DAW like Beatmaker 3, and I can load Tube AU onto a track, and then Tube AU is basically a way to get YouTube video or audio from YouTube video onto a track in Beatmaker 3 or Cubasis, whatever you're using. So you load Tube AU on a track, and then open Tube AU, go to YouTube, look up the video you want, and then you can play that video and record it directly to a track. Saves a lot of time. It sounds like it's a lot of work, but it saves a lot of time. GS Vintage, I believe, Clean is a cleaner app. It must be used within another app. Gain Stage, so I can't talk about that much. Playbacks, not the best name. Sounds like an erotic name, but it's a great app. What it is I watch a lot of videos on YouTube, Safari or whatever. It's basically a way where you can play videos 2x speed. So if you're watching my videos, I talk really fast, but if you want to watch it faster, watch it at 2x speed. You can use playbacks for that, and they tell you how you can do that in the app. Spin is a new release app. Newly released app by Clef Grand, which basically has, I believe, like 4 different windmill type spinner, rotary type devices, and you can basically have it on different bands in the frequency spectrum. Haven't used it yet. Woot is, or Watt, I like calling it Watt because it is a iOS version of OTT, which I use, haven't used a lot lately, but I've used on PC, and it's a great app. There are some instructions there telling you what it does, and I know I said I wasn't going to go into all these apps, but some of these are like incredible. I've been using that a lot lately on synths, mainly synth sounds and samples. AudioTune, why do I have 2 of them? I know why I have 2, but I talked about that already. This app I have not, I don't even think I've opened yet. E1 Control, it's basically another controller for Logic, or really, I believe, looks like it has different plugins or controllers that people may have built. I don't really know, but shout out again to Ali Ahmet, who gifted me this app to use, and I will have a video coming on using that. It looks like there's some great presets already built in there, but you can basically use this to control Logic, maybe Pro Tools, some other apps. I believe using the Mackie protocol. I could be wrong on that. But a great app. I can create controllers, so I just got to get in there and figure it out. I really want to see how it compares to Logic Pro's built-in controller, or remote, Logic Remote, which I also don't use often, but I think control by E1 or one instrument control could take some of that remote controlling to another level. So that's about it. I actually I'm gonna go to the bottom really quick, but Atmosphere I can't talk about yet. I don't believe it's out yet. Just be on the lookout. And let's see, down at the bottom, Beatmaker 3 is my main DAW. I have some videos on my page showing how I use that. Cubasis 3 is next to that. I do have Cubasis 2. Cubasis 3 has been buggy for a while. It may be fixed now. I haven't used it lately. The 3 apps next to that are Amplify apps, Groovebox, Launchpad, and what is the third one? And Bloxwave came to me. I was using those a lot, especially over the last few years. I haven't used it a lot lately, but it's really great. It has some great quality sounds. You can import, especially Bloxwave, you can import your own loops and stuff into it and get real creative with production. So that's about it. Files app, I will discuss briefly just because that's how I'm mainly moving stuff between apps and things. Files app and Dropbox for me are my main ways of like moving files around and things. And then I will end with LumaFusion, which is my video editing app. I was using iMovie until about the end of last year, where I needed just some more higher quality features. LumaFusion is really on a whole nother level. It does a lot of stuff that I probably will never do with it, but it was, for me, it was a logical move from iMovie to LumaFusion. There's a learning curve, but sort of got my workflow down with it. So I was trying to keep this quick. It is under an hour. I was trying to keep it under 30 minutes. But that is a quick overview. Apologies again to any app developers if I said you created an app and it wasn't you and it was someone else. A lot of these teams and app developers are incredible. And I will start naming them: Clev Grand, Audio Kit Pro, Gospel Musicians, 4 Pockets, and the list goes on, and I mentioned some of them here. Definitely into Beatmaker 3, Steinberg, Cubasis, just some that come to mind, and I will stop naming there. Thank you all for checking this out. More videos on the way, more music on the way. Be safe and be well. All right, peace.